how do you reflect on this bigger role that you are going to have in the ministry of Pope Francis?
Siguro malaking bagay yung the kind of spiritual formation that I received from the Jesuits. Tinuruan nila kami ng what they call spiritual indifference. Normally, indifference is negative, di ba? Parang wala pake, parang gano'n. But no. The concept of spiritual indifference is positive. Parang gano'n. Parang, things may change, but God is in control. He knows what He's doing. Parang gano'n ba? Then you can be at peace. And, things change. A lot of new things will come, pero nananatili yung sense of equanimity. Nananatili yung sense of serenity inside, no? And ang aking, wala akong ibang coping mechanism kundi ang prayer ko prayer and discernment. So, I think I told you already about my coffee with Jesus. Parang daily routine ko yan. Gigising talaga ako ng maaga at pag magdadasal na ako sa chapel, sa Caloocan, wherever I find myself, I bring with me a cup of coffee. But it's so pleasant to pray with a cup of coffee, imagining Jesus as your body, as your friend, and you're having it together. Kasi kaya tumatagal ang aking so-called coffee with Jesus because it includes yung praying the breviary, in the songs, the readings, the office of the readings, tapos yung readings for the day, and then ipiprepare yung homily. At yun parati yung direksyon ng prayer ko. It's more listening than talking. I cannot talk sensibly about God if I do not listen to God. Parang importante yun sa akin. Kaya salamat sa Diyos at naituro sa akin ang disiplina na yun. That's the more important part of prayer. More than talking to God is listening to God. Now, if we respond to God, it's because we have listened to God. And yun yung communication that keeps me going. Kaya siguro hindi na ako natitigatig dito sa mga bigla at pagbabago sa buhay ko. Although of course, na-shock talaga ako. Hindi sa hinagap. At I was telling you, I resort to prayer. Mm-hmm. So, breathing exercise ako para kasi di ako hyperventilate. Breathing exercise ako, then I pray. Mm-hmm. So, I went into prayer mode and nagpalampas ako mga 30 minutos bago ko binuksan ulit yung cellphone. Mm-hmm. And then I was okay. Then okay na, back to parang yung yung state of holy indifference. Mm-hmm. Yun yung spiritual indifference, sasabi ko kanina, hindi siya negative, positive siya. Yung holy indifference is, no, I'm not in control of my life. Mm-hmm. Just, mula nung naging obispo ko, tanggap ko na hindi na akin ang buhay. Kaya sinabi ko, hindi ko ito honor or recognition, hindi ko ito title, responsibility ito.
Do you think this new role will, how do you think this new role will change your ministry, beginning with Caloocan?
Well, in the first place, it will not change my being a bishop. Because he chose me in this context. By the way, I'm not an archbishop. I am a bishop. And I think I'm the first non-archbishop na Pilipinas na na-appoint sa pagiging kardinal. At, well, as far as I know, hindi naman ako bibigyan ng other special assignment. So far, a special assignment na tanggap ko is to be a member of the Synodal Council. No? So, I would presuppose that I just stay in Caloocan and continue to serve as a bishop of the local church of Caloocan. I think, syempre, yung pagiging kardinal parang gives you a certain stature. And I think that stature is bestowed on the office. Not on me as a person, but on the office. Parang gano'n. So, parang may dinagdag sa office ko as Bishop Caloocan At may dinagdag din sa office ko as president of the Conference of Bishops. So, at as vice president of the Federation of Asian Bishops Conferences. And I realized now na kasi nagbabago din yung trato ng ibang tao sa iyo when you carry that the designation. Parang you realize people are more deferential. Not to you as a person, it's to the office.
Why not?
Because whether you like it or not, the Cardinal's office is an extension of the Pope. Kaya parang if they defer to me, it's to the office and ultimately to the Pope, who is a symbol of the communion of the church. Ganun ang tingin ko. And I think malaki ang magiging difference din niya sa ministry ko. Parang gano'n ba? I hope positively, no? Kasi excited kami ngayon about our synodal pastoral planning. And parang natutuwa ako na preempt namin ang synodality. Tapos ang first experiment ko ay ongoing na. Hindi ako maghihintay until after the synod to implement it dahil parang sumabay din kami sa pastoral planning namin. Let's hope somehow. Kasi hindi ko mapipreempt kung ano magiging impact nito. I'm not very comfortable with the rest of it because I think I'm getting too much attention. And I'm not used to that. Parang gusto ko sabihin, pwede pa huwag nyo naman sa sarili ko i-focus yung attention ninyo. Kundi doon sa gawain, doon sa responsibilidad. Parang ganon. At kung anong may aapag ko doon sa responsibilidad na iniaatang sa aking balikat at gano'n.
Yung pong pagsusuot niya ng pula, kasi symbol na kondorin na readiness to shed blood for the church. Ano yung reflection na doon?
Well,
ready po ba kayo doon?
It's a call to martyr namin. And tingnan mo naman, halos lahat ng apostol, martyrs, diba? Kapag nag-celebrate tayo ng pista ng mga apostol, in general, ang suit ng obispo ay pula. Because most of them died a violent death. Kaya kapag iniugnay natin yung red with honor and title and recognition, we are totally losing the significance of the color. Pero totoo, the call to martyrdom, the color is red. That's the reason why. It's a statement. You know, before I became Bishop of Caloocan, I was Auxiliary Bishop of San Fernando, and I was titular Bishop of Guardia Fiera. And nung maging titular Bishop ako, nagulat ako, existing po pala yung titular diocese na yun. In fact, sa December 9, the day after the Thanksgiving Mass, iniimbita buong pamilya ko, mga kapatid ko, na pumasyal doon at pag-Thanksgiving Mass daw ako at 5 o'clock in the afternoon at i-welcome daw ako ng mayor na Guardia Fiera. And it's going to be a big occasion in the town of Guardia Fiera. It's like a city on a hill overlooking a lake. It's a beautiful place, no? Ang unang dinalaw ko doon when I visited that, kasi pina-reconsecrate yung cathedral. When I visited the Guardia Fiera, dinala ako doon sa crypt. And you know, yung nandun doon sa crypt nila, may museum ng previous titular bishop nila before me. And believe it or not, the previous titular bishop was a martyr. Jose Conedera Girardi. And yung representation of Guardia Fiera went to Guatemala after Girardi was assassinated like Oscar Romero. Exactly the same story as Oscar Romero. Nagpabalik-balik siya sa Guardia Fiera kasi siya yung titular bishop ng Guardia Fiera. And when he was assassinated, dukuan yung niya. So yung buong kasak niya ng puti ay nawala. Ganon. Inuwi nila at dinala sa museum. First class leveling ng martyr na si Jean, and I'm hoping that he gets canonized as a martyr. um, like Oscar Romero, no? Kaya, nung nangyayari yung threat sa buhay ko, nung nakarang administrasyon, sumulat sila sa akin. At sabi, tama na daw sa Martin.
They're aware of what's happening. They were aware of what's happening.
Oh, yes. I didn't realize na global pala yung news na pick up nila. Tapos nila sabi na, our bishop, doing ganun. Hindi na ako bishop ng Guardia Fiera Mainen. Kasi the moment I was given a Diocese of Caloocan since 2016, natapos na ang aking pagiging titular bishop of Guardia Fiera. So the title had already been passed on to a new bishop. But when they saw me in the news, sabi niya, bishop. Yung ganun ba? And sumulat sila and they were saying, please take care of yourself because we know what happened to our previous bishop and he died a martyr. So, how could I tell them, yun naman ang calling namin hindi naman sa gusto namin magpamatay o magpakamartir, parang gano'n. Pero we will not run away from danger. Parang gano'n ba? Kung pagod ako mamatay, sana hindi na ako nag-bishop. Parang kung kahit ko nakiprotect ng buhay ko, sarili ko, and I cannot protect my flock, ba't pa ako nag-ubispo? Parang gano'n. I remember the first time I said that, para ako may iyak, it was so moving for me. At minsan, historical circumstances will call for it. And maraming beses na sa kasaysayan ng simbahan na we were persecuted. Hindi naman sa may persecution complex time. We don't want to be persecuted, siyempre. Pero sometimes it happens because of the principles that you start for. Sometimes it can happen that you will suffer the consequences.
Bishop, you've been a professor, speaker, scholar, auxiliary bishop. How did the Diocese of Caloocan change or deepen your vocation or ministry?
Yeah. Totoo yung sabi mo, I was very academic before. Kasi ang tagal kong professor. And even during the time na auxiliary bishop ako, professor pa rin ako. At enjoy ako. Kasi yun talaga, akala ko yun talagang calling ko Kaya nga nung mapili ako mag-obispo, nagre-resist ako Tapos sinasabi ko pa noon sa nuncio na kung gagawin yung mga obispo, lahat ng mga professor na seminary, sabi ko, kawawa naman itong mga seminarista, parang I underwent all of that training, formation, nag-licentiate ako, nag-doctorate ako, sabi ko, for this. Tapos, ang gawin niyo akong pastor, sabi ko, sabi naman ng nuncio, hindi na, senior bishop ka, so you can still teach. Oh, well, I was able to do that when I was auxiliary bishop, but the moment I was sent to Caloocan, di na pwede. And, ayun, binago talaga yung direksyon ng buhay ko and positively. Parang it put my feet flat on the ground, immersed me really in the condition of the poor. At hindi na academic ang perspective. Ang theology naging mas concrete.
They do.
Pati yung appreciation of the scriptures may kagat na. So, hindi na conceptual o theoretical na core me. Parang kapag ramdam mo yung pinagdadaanan ng tao, alam mo isasabihin mo sa kanila how to give them hope. Alam mo din, pag hindi mo sila nakakausap, hindi mo napapalakas ang loob nila, hindi mo inaabot yung mga tao. Kasi I don't think we can preach effectively to people when we do not know. Na kung hindi tayo naka-immerse sa kalagayan nila. At yan yung ibinigay sa akin ng experience ko sa Diocese of Caloocan. And kasi I had to really go down to the Slav communities na hindi namin inaabot. Kasi ano naman ang phenomenon ng local migration, di ba? Nagtagsaan sa syudad yung mga big communities of urban poor, settlements, ganyan, na walang kinalaman, walang attachment sa ating mga traditional parishes. Kung minsan, traditional parish, mayroon siya 5,000 o 10,000 na population. Tapos biglang mayroong 100,000 the slot winners next to it. They are alienated. Meron kaming parokya na, I think sa Sacred Heart Tugato, no? Na yung kanyang yung pinakamalaking slum community doon, yung mission station, mas malaki pa population kesa sa, siguro, quadruple the population of the parish, ito yung mission station naman. How can you neglect those people? Kaya sinasabi ko na, if they cannot come to church, the church will go to them. And siyempre, challenge din yun sa akin. Parang naman. And that made me, I think, shift perspectives. Tapos naging less academic ang direction. And, you know, meron kaming grupo, we call ourselves the Storyteller Society Incorporated because nakita ko talaga ang power of storytelling. And people will listen to you. And sabi ko, ito yung style ni Jesus in the Gospels. He tells stories. That's why he's able to touch the lives of people. But you cannot tell stories effectively if you don't listen to people's actual stories.